For the last 3 months, we've been witnessing several examples on various points on our border with Ladakh. We've been witnessing incursions by the Chinese army, the PLA. Whether it's through satellite imagery, whether it's retired army officers, whether it's defense experts, whether it's local residents of Ladakh, everybody has been giving us examples of the incursions, evidences of the incursions. On the one hand, the Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi ji, gives a clean chit to China. On the other hand, the Defense Minister and top officers of Northern Command have a different story to tell about the incursions of China. We've also been told by media reports that there is an unwritten ban on the ministers of the cabinet from speaking out against China. And we can see that. Over the last few weeks, me and my colleagues have presented before you several examples of a special relationship that our Prime Minister has with China. Not just as Prime Minister, but even when he was the Chief Minister of Gujarat, there have been several instances, several examples of a special fondness that the Prime Minister has exhibited, has shown towards China. Whether it's investments in Gujarat, not just during his tenure as the Chief Minister, but also it continues. 43,000 crores of investment through textile park, through industrial park in Dholera, through smart city projects, 43,000 crores of investments. These are the MOUs that have been signed in Gujarat over the last 5 years. So the trend continues. As Prime Minister, we've told you how many times has he visited or met his counterpart, his Chinese counterpart. But very interesting, as Chief Minister of Gujarat, Mr. Narendra Modi in 2011 announced that Mandarin will be introduced in the schools of Gujarat. I don't know what happened to that announcement, because like most announcements of the Prime Minister, there's always a question mark, what happened? In 2017, the assembly elections of Gujarat, I think this was discussed in a press conference in the past also. Global Times, which is the mouthpiece of the Chinese establishment, wrote editorials in favor of the Prime Minister, hoped and prayed on behalf of the companies of China that the Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi's party, wins the assembly election in Gujarat. It was in the interest of the Chinese companies, says Global Times, that the Prime Minister's party wins in Gujarat again, whatever the reasons. We all understand that diplomacy and trade are the two tools that countries use to cement their relationships. But we also understand that you do not sacrifice or compromise your strategic interests when you partner with another country, when you enter into trade agreements with another country, when you allow the companies of other country to get into your country. You always try and safeguard your strategic interests. That's the way we have seen governance. That's the way we've understood governance. We also understand that we are in an era which is completely globalized, and under this era, you cannot expect investments to follow geographical boundaries. We do get investments from abroad, from different companies, from different countries. That's normal under globalization. Having said that, what is worrying is when a company from China, which has several question marks around the globe for its integrity, for its proximity, not just proximity, direct control of the Chinese army and the Chinese government, when that company is allowed to enter into a strategic area of a sensitive state like Jammu and Kashmir, then there are question marks, then these are worrying signs. That's why this press conference, that's why I wanted to bring to your notice this particular company called Dongfang. Now, Dongfang is it's a very fairly well-known company. It is active in various parts of the world. There have been question marks against it by the World Bank. World Bank, in fact, banned it for a while because of corrupt practices. It is very active in Pakistan. It is considered to be very close to the current Pakistani establishment also. The famous, infamous, whatever you want to call it, the infamous Nandipur power project of Pakistan was done by this company. This is the same project because of which the then Prime Minister of Pakistan had to go to the jail. This company plays a very important role in the Belt and Road, the very ambitious Belt and Road initiative of China. This initiative was mentioned by Rahul ji last week in one of his video conversations on China. This company is well known in the energy sector, both hardware and software, in the IoT, the Internet of Things. It is well known in the power grid sector, in the smart metering, also the radio frequency technology, the RF technology. This company is well known for that. So there is a contract, there is a tender, there was a tender by the Ministry of Power for smart metering in Jammu and Srinagar, 1 lakh meters each. So the company which got this contract has further subcontracted to Dongfang the remote communication technology component of this tender. In any smart meter, the radio frequency or the remote communication system is a very, very critical component of a smart meter. So if a company controls or has the RF technology of a smart meter, that company can access the data of the consumer, the profiling of the consumption, everything that company will have access to. Also, that company, according to experts, can ensure a blackout in that area within minutes, within seconds. So if RF technology, something as critical as this, goes to a company which, as I have described the credentials of the company, especially in an era where there are border disturbances, there is absolute mistrust. We faced cyber attacks in the past 2 months. In June itself, 5 days of June, Indian banking sector faced 40,000 cyber attacks from China. Cyber attacks are something which every country is worried about. Everybody is trying to safeguard its interests against cyber attacks. Australia faced a massive cyber attack. The Australian Parliament faced it. And the government of Australia directly blamed China for that cyber attack. So we are talking about the threat to the consumers of Jammu and Srinagar. We are talking about their data being compromised. We are talking about the risk of a blackout. So we demand from the Prime Minister, we want to know, what is the compulsion? Why would the government allow a company like Dongfang to get into Jammu and Srinagar, to get into the electricity power sector, to get into the remote, the RF technology area of the power sector? Why? What are your compulsions? On the one hand, you're banning all the Chinese apps, which is fine, absolutely fine. But on the other hand, you allow something as critical as your power consumption data, that too of Jammu and Srinagar, going to the hands of Dongfang, which is not only reporting to the Chinese army and the Chinese government, which has very close ties with Pakistan, the current establishment of Pakistan. These are very critical questions in a time when our brave Jawans are trying to protect our borders in Ladakh. We do not expect the government to act the way it is acting.